Okay, we'll start. Hi everyone, this is Aoife here from Pixie Fitness. As promised, I have the lovely Lucy from Sleep Matters in with me today, and we're going to talk about getting your kids into a proper routine, and Lucy is going to give us some tips and see what we can do to help you all out. So first off, Lucy, tell me a little bit about what exactly you do.
So normally if I work with mums and dads of young children from around 6 months to 6 years of age, I normally work one-to-one with the family when they're struggling with their children's sleep. So like struggling with children's sleep might be resisting going to sleep at bedtime, waking frequently throughout the course of the night. We're not talking about waking for a feed here and there. We'll be talking about like waking every 40 minutes or less, waking for long periods of time overnight, so maybe waking at 1 and not going back to sleep till 3 or 4, early rising, resisting daytime sleep, short nap durations. So generally that would be my overview of what a sleep problem might be. I wouldn't consider there to be any sleep problems before 6 months. I generally feel that that is a lot of typical young children's sleep. Now, there's things that you can be doing to the kind of what I call work behind the scenes, but we generally don't, or I don't feel that intervention is required until at least 6 months, and that maybe you've observed the issues going on for about a month, and then I would start to think that maybe it's not just a leap, it's not just a stage or a phase, that maybe is something that requires a look at.
Well, the reason I have you in today is that I feel with a lot of clients coming in, new mums, they're exhausted, and I think people forget how important sleep is when you're trying a new exercise and nutrition routine, because if you're tired, you're picking the wrong foods, you're probably picking sugary foods, and you're too exhausted to do any training. So I think it's so important to have someone like you to go to if someone is really struggling with their kids and their sleep habits.
And I've got 4 of my own children as well, so it's not just in theory, it's been in practice as well. Exactly. And you know, when we're not getting enough sleep, well, first of all, it only becomes important when you're not getting enough. Otherwise we totally underestimate the importance of sleep, and it serves a huge function. You know, it supervises a wide variety of biological maintenance jobs. So obviously it's important for parents to sleep better, but also it's very important developmentally that we help our young children start to have what I call positive sleep associations and sleep practices. Now look, if you're a parent, you're going to be tired. Absolutely, it's part of the package, and we expect that to be the case. But of course, what I don't want families to feel is that it's just the way it is. Because there's often small changes that can make a huge difference to the length, the quality of your child's sleep, which in turn improves you, the parent.
And one of the questions I got in, is there an age where it's too late? You can't.
No, it's never too late. So like even as an adult, if you're not a great sleeper, you can always reverse that, or you can work on reversing it. So like it's never too late to get fit, right? So I feel no, it's never too late, but obviously early intervention is key, because then you're not struggling for years and years. You're not having a negative impact on either the child or yourself. And like when sleep's not right, unfortunately, it has such wide implications. So, sometimes it can lead to, negative thought processes, conflict within the relationship. Some parents start to take little enjoyment in their children. And I suppose what we're looking for is to enhance all of that. And for me, Aoife, it's not about controlled crying or cry-intensive methods. I feel that our children's sleep can be improved without it being at their expense and at their emotional developmental expense. And I feel that any changes that we make should be fully supported by the parent. And then as time evolves, you can work on phasing yourself out of the process if that is part of the sleep problem that you're having.
I think that the controlled crying is what scares a lot of parents off.
And I suppose I would say to you, look, you don't need to have your child cry to improve their sleep. Certainly if you're changing habits. then of course they may use their first language.
Yes.
And they may communicate with you along those lines. But any crying that a family that I would be working directly with would be fully supported, never left on their own for any length of time.
Okay.
And that's totally explained in my book,
Okay.
Baby Sleep Solution.
Yeah.
And it's my stay and support approach.
Yeah.
Before we ever get to strategies,
Yes.
I try to look at the core reasons behind why children don't sleep.
Okay.
So when you say to me, is it ever too late? Well,
Yeah.
it's never too late, but also try not to put yourself under too much pressure in the early months either.
Yeah.
I try to get families to think of their sleep in two halves.
Okay.
Before 6 months,
Right.
and then after 6 months.
Okay.
And before the 6 month mark, I would do what I call gentle sleep shaping.
Okay.
And then beyond 6 months, I might do gentle sleep learning,
Okay.
depending on what the issues might be.
Brilliant.
But first of all, if we get a better understanding of what
Of
causes
what-
sleep problems,
Yes, yeah.
then of course families can start to decide what they need and what needs to change for them.
Okay. And a lot of questions I was getting in as well. Are some kids just don't want to sleep, or is it? You hear people saying my child sleeps all through the night, not a
Yeah.
problem. And somebody else saying my kid just doesn't sleep. Is
Yeah.
it a personality or?
It's a combination of things: temperament, personality, what the parent is doing, how the parent has responded. The good news is, I totally believe every child can be helped to learn to sleep better.
That's
There's
great news.
huge variation in
I
sleep,
know.
in terms of what like I might need way more sleep than you.
Okay, it's
and so
individual.
your child might need way more sleep than me, or my
Exactly,
child.
yeah.
So there is a variation, absolutely. But
Yeah.
I really get frustrated when parents kind of feel like it's just the way it is.
Yes.
I've been sleep deprived for 7 years and it's just the way,
It's
it,
just
is.
the way it is.
No, it isn't.
Yeah.
And I think that small changes can make a huge difference.
Okay.
And what I like to look at, Aoife, is the two core reasons behind sleep problems.
Right.
So if we understand that, first of all, one of the reasons would be what I call dependency.
Okay.
So when your child is over 6 months of age, if you are over involved in helping them get to sleep,
Yes.
so if you're feeding them to sleep, rocking, rolling them to sleep, laying down with them, driving them up the motorway to get them to go to
Yes.
sleep, then you will potentially be more vulnerable to nighttime activity
Okay.
than the family whose child is what we would call independent.
Yes.
So you hear those words like self-settle and things like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Well, ultimately, a young child does need at some stage to learn how to put themselves to sleep,
Okay.
so that they can start to cycle through their natural sleep phases
Okay.
without your input.
Okay.
Now, if it works for you, you're feeding them to sleep and they sleep really well,
Yeah.
you don't have any difficulties.
Yeah.
But if you are feeding your child to sleep or rocking and rolling them to sleep and then they wake continuously looking for the same input,
yeah.
then we would start to consider that maybe that could be weakened
Okay.
in a certain way.
Okay.
So that would make up one part of sleep problems,
Okay.
with then biological timekeeping making up the second part of sleep problems.
Okay.
And it's this piece that I put most of my emphasis on.
Yes.
Because we're looking at trying to underpin the biological timekeeping
Right.
of your child's individual body clock.
Body clock, okay, yeah.
So if I ask families in general, what does your child do when they start to get tired?
Yeah.
They might suggest that they are obviously, eyes rubbing, they start to look tired,
Yeah.
yawning, maybe irritable.
Yeah.
And what happens is that a lot of the time families are addressing their sleep when the child is already overtired.
Okay.
So if you see anything that's obvious,
Yeah.
intense eye rubbing, big chat yawning, agitation, clenching
Yeah.
fists, stretching limbs, I would suggest that's overtired.
Yeah.
And really the body's had a chemical response to becoming overtired.
Okay,
And that's
okay.
cortisol and adrenaline
Yes.
to the system.
Yeah.
And it just has two functions here.
Yeah.
It makes it hard for the body to go to sleep.
Yep.
Which is why they resist sleep.
Yep.
And why parents say they fight sleep.
Yeah.
But also it makes it hard for the body to stay asleep.
Okay.
So that would give you some frequent activity.
Okay.
It may give you long wakeful periods.
Yeah.
It potentially will mean that you describe your child as a light sleeper. So that
Okay.
everything wakes them, flush the toilet, crack on the stairs.
Yeah.
And again, basically what we're looking at is addressing sleep after the fact.
Okay.
So when they're already overtired.
Yeah.
So again, one of the simplest things families can do is start to do it before.
Okay.
You see those symptoms.
Before you see
I
them.
try to look for early cues like a brief eye rub, a brief yawn, a moment of quiet.
Okay.
But also some children are hard to read.
Okay.
So they have become so tired, all you ever see are late cues.
Okay.
Or they might be super good, good tempered
Yeah.
and very mild mannered, so that they don't ever give you any goods. They're always happy.
Okay.
All right. Or you might have someone who's overstimulated by their siblings. So then I try try to encourage families to work off my feeding and sleeping balance.
Okay.
That's recommended. It's age relevant, so based on your child's age group, that we try to work within that. And basically, what it does is just syncs up the natural body clock.
Okay.
And then you start doing sleep at the right time for the body, and that has such positive implications.
There's a lot of science kind of involved in what you
science
do.
piece of sleep. Yeah. So again, I try to do the science piece of sleep, so you get an understanding of why we need to do what we need to do.
Yeah.
So again, that would often involve bringing forward bedtimes, bringing forward nap times, and getting the dynamic right between the feeding and the sleeping. So again, very often then the feeding and the sleeping are what I call enmeshed, and they are overlapping, and we try to maybe uncouple them so that feeding and sleeping run parallel to each other rather than always clashing and causing each other problems.
Okay. And roughly how long, I know it's going to be different for every child, but how long should it take to implement?
Yes, everyone said, I know it should be different. It is and it isn't. When I'm working with a family, I work with them for 3 to 4 weeks. Okay. The first 7 to 10 days we generally find are the most challenging, but they're always the days you see the most improvements by. So typically within nights 10 to 14, we are probably really close to sleeping through the night. Now again, that could be with feeds, depending on what your baby needs, your child needs, and how old your child is too. So generally, if they're under 2.5, I find it takes me nights 10 to 14 to kind of get there. When I say get there, they still might be waking at 5 and have some early rising to deal with. We maybe start to really consolidate their sleep. And then the 3rd and the 4th week, I spend correcting the early rising, and then it's just pinning down the daytime sleeping structure, because that takes that little bit longer. Now when I work with an older child, so 2.5 to 6, it might take me 20 to 21 nights to get me sleeping through the night, so it often takes me a little bit longer. And I think that's important for parents to know.
Yeah, definitely. It's brilliant, because I actually thought you were going to have months. But it's actually
No, again, obviously I do have some outliers that take me that little bit longer, but generally speaking, I was telling somebody yesterday, it's just I run numbers in my practice all of the time, because I like to be able to tell a family, look, this is what you can expect based on your child's temperament and my experience. I feel this is what's going to happen. Like I just met a woman this morning where I worked with her 6 years ago, and she said to me, you told me that I would always have to be vigilant about his sleep. And she said, you were so right. And I suppose I just try to get to know the family that I'm working with, get to know the temperament of the child. But then there are a lot of generalities with sleep. So then we work on that basis too.
I had one from one of my friends who just had twins. And she wanted to know, is it a lot harder when you've got two she seems that when one's awake the other's asleep, and is it a lot more difficult?
I think it certainly is on the surface, and I always feel with my multiple families that they have so much more to contend with than a singleton families. And that said, though, one of my major priorities for a multiple family unit is that we get them working on the same sort of timeline, and so that one parent can do two or three children, depending on the unit, at the same time, and then we have them waking at the same sort of time and napping at the same sort of time. And I totally acknowledge they're going to be two individuals. But for the sanity of the family, again, I don't feel there's too many multiple families that will say to you, I'm more than happy to have them on 2 different schedules. It doesn't make sense, you know. So then one of the first things I start to do is I always wake the twins within 30 minutes in the morning of each other. And again, if you find that 30 minutes is too long for the next nap to be in sync, I would even make it 10 or 15 minutes. So then let's say child 1 wakes at 6:45, then by 7:15 I would definitely have that other child up and awake, and then I do that for the morning wake time, and I always do it for nap number 1. But generally nap 2 and nap 3, well, there's a cut-off point anyway, so the day always ends the same, and that bedtime always is the same. And again, my major objective with a twin family or a multiple family, because I often would have triplets or quads, is that we have one parent, one bedtime routine, and 2 or 3, or whatever the unit is, so that you're not waiting for a parent to come home, or you need always an extra pair of hands. From quite early on, we try and get that rhythm going. What I would also say is God is good, and one twin tends to always be better than the other. So again, no, that's not always the case, but you could have one child and one routine that works perfectly for that child, and it's not suiting the other. So we change it for both, and the one that's been adjustable will just slot right in. So don't be afraid of that. So get the 2 children or 3 children working alongside of each other.
3 top tips, if you had to think of 3 tips of someone who is really trying to just get their act together and try to get the kids to sleep or baby to sleep, what would be your 3 kind of biggest things to focus on?
One of my first thing would be to have a regular wake time, somewhere between 6 and no later than 7:30 a.m.
Okay.
Alright, and again, parents have to understand that the wake time is hormonally driven.
Okay.
So you might be wanting them to sleep till 7,
Yeah.
but that may not be the way your child is designed.
Okay.
Now, a lot of families might say, oh my god, 7 is a lion.
Yes.
Okay, and that's often the case.
Yeah.
But I always wake between 6 and half 7, I always start the day with a feed.
Okay.
So I anchor the day from that point of view.
Yeah.
So that would be my first big tip.
Okay.
And then secondary to that, learning to read the body language.
Yes.
So actually what I'm looking for to indicate sleep readiness is a brief eye rub, a really brief yawn, and maybe a moment of quiet. Okay? Now if you don't see those symptoms, then I would encourage you to go 10 minutes or so before you see the other ones.
Okay.
So there's more intense ones, so you kind of hedge your bets.
Okay.
And again, if you can get that working better, then actually they will potentially start to be in sync, which will mean they'll go to sleep easier. And then they will actually start to sleep longer as well.
Okay.
And then my big one is an early bedtime.
Early bedtime.
Yeah. You know, if your child is not sleeping great during the day, and if they're struggling to sleep well overnight, then sometimes even 7:30 is too late.
Okay.
So again, what I get parents to do at the very start is I work with a super early bedtime. So I start the process around 6:30.
Okay.
In an effort to aim for them to be asleep around 7.
Okay.
Now, dynamics between the sleep is really important. So obviously, there's no point going for a 7 o'clock bedtime if the last nap finished at 6. Okay, so I like to work off timelines in the evening time. So very briefly, between 4 months and 8 months, the max wake period I'd want between the last nap and being in bed asleep is 2 hours at the start.
Okay.
So I'd have my naps finished by 5, and that lines me up perfectly to be in bed asleep for 7. Okay. From 8 months to 18 months, the wakeful period should never exceed 4 hours.
Okay.
All right. So then what we're looking at is maybe having naps dropped down to 3 or 3:30, and again in bed asleep for 7. 7 that's a 4-hour window.
Okay.
And then also from 18 months plus, that wakeful period should never exceed 5 hours.
Right. Okay.
So again, lots of toddlers. They're napping at around 11, 11 to 1, and even if bedtime is 7, that gap is still too big.
Okay.
So we need to just nudge everything down.
Okay.
It's the wake period in the evening that causes loads of problems.
Okay.
Often families, they get wound up with the wake period between the wake time and the first nap or the single nap. Whereas actually, although it is important, it's the least important wake period. It's always the one before bedtime.
Wow. Okay. So tell me, what sort of services do you offer? I know you've got your book there. That is the Baby Sleep Solution. And where can you purchase this?
You can get that in all bookshops and online as well.
Amazing. And
so that's a DIY version.
Perfect.
And then you can work with me directly.
Okay.
And parents that work with me directly, I work with them for the month.
Okay, perfect.
So that we get the situation under control.
Brilliant.
And so I do that with people in person in my practice in Cork.
Yeah.
But I also do it remotely through Skype, FaceTime, phone, Google Hangouts.
So they don't have to be in Cork?
Absolutely. I've got clients all over the world.
Ah, brilliant.
Yeah,
okay.
it's super.
So there you go. If you are really struggling, you can either work with Lucy personally, or you can go and buy her amazing book, The Baby Sleep Solution, and that's available online. Thank you so much for coming in to me today. I will be putting a link up at the end of this video to Lucy's website and where you can purchase the book online as well. Thanks a million, Lucy, for coming in to me today.